Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Episode 6, and it's wet February. We're cracking a beer right now.
Wet February.
This is
I never thought about calling it that before.
I saw somebody on TikTok calling it Wet February.
Okay.
If you'd like to be a sponsor to the Elk Season Podcast, I'll take your money.
Yeah.
You can email me, RockyMountainElkSeason@gmail.com. That's RockyMountainElkSeason@gmail.com. You can message me on TikTok or on YouTube. But yeah, I don't know. We're looking for sponsors.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know that this
I'm
beer
looking for
will be
a
a sponsor, but this beer would be a great sponsor for me.
Oh.
But
You know what that reminds me of? Just right now. It's been a long time since I had a beer.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a beer yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had some margaritas, but not a beer.
Yeah.
Wow. That reminds me of Kessler.
Kessler
beer made in Helena.
Oh.
I ever tell you about when I was in junior high and I sold some beer to some kids in junior high? It's a true story.
You were in junior high. I just want to make sure that was clear, right?
Yes.
You weren't like an adult, like, hey, junior high kids.
No.
Buy this from me.
I told you before I was in, we grew up poor. I was into diving dumpsters. I love finding other people's garbage.
I once found a free cheeseburger, but I don't know if that's for this podcast, in a dumpster.
I watched 3 episodes of Storage Wars before I was doing that. You remember. And because it's fun. It's an adventure. You never know what you're going to find. One time I was out behind the Kessler Brewery and there was a bunch of improperly filled bottles, overfilled or underfilled, but mostly filled. And I carried like 3 cases back to the house. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Okay.
So like days later, somebody in my junior high is like, you know where I get some beer? And I'm like,
wow.
He's like, my brothers are in high school and they're looking for some beer. It'd be really cool if the little brother could deliver for them.
There you go.
And I go, yeah. And I go, but I'm kind of nervous about this because
Sure.
it's beer. What's your plan?
Right.
And at the time, it was the only beer I think I'd ever tasted. So, but it was
Sure.
a very rich and a dark beer, not something that people would consider a good beer. Not a lot of people drank craft beer back then. It was all that stuff. So anyway, I said, "What's your plan?" He goes, "Well, we'll keep it in the doghouse. It's nice and cold there in Helena. We'll keep it in the doghouse until the parents go out of town, and we'll throw a party." And everything went off without a hitch. I made like $35.
Wow. Hey, 100% profit.
Nobody got caught. I know. Anyway, beer.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
Coming up today, I saw some things on Elk 101 that really I have a very, very strong opinion of.
Okay.
And one of them's not good, and
Okay.
one of them is glowing.
Okay.
Just outstanding. I can't wait for you to watch. But I'm gonna spoil it for you.
Yeah. I admittingly got a little bit behind in my homework with the Elk 101 current
I'm all
season,
caught up.
so.
There's a new episode tomorrow.
I started watching Shed Hunters, and I think I sent you some. So that's
you
where
did.
I got distracted.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. We I knew I should have wrote stuff down. I get here, and I'm like, I know what's going on. I know what I'm doing. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. So we're going to talk. Also, I've been messaging a guy on TikTok.
Yeah.
He is at DK_Guidelife, DK.Guidelife.
Okay.
And he's just really active on TikTok.
Okay.
And
He's a guide for?
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh, okay.
I don't know. So I haven't had that
He's
many
just
conversations
okay,
with
I got
him.
you.
He's just a guide. He likes to do what he does, and he's a guide. And as a rule, I'm against the guiding. As a hunter,
Sure.
I don't want to be guided. So of course it's a spectrum,
Right.
It's not.
There's those that are looking for that service and those that are not. And if you were to look at that dichotomy, we definitely fall, I think you and I, I'm not really that interested in a guided hunt.
Right.
But there are those who definitely fall into that.
And we talked last week about, and I don't want to beat up on guides.
No.
And I told the guy,
No.
I got nothing but love for you. He's out there. He hunts.
Right.
He knows what he's doing.
Yes.
Other people need help. I would argue we need help.
That's why I chuckled, because I'm like, yeah, kind of like where we're at, but at the same time, we're kind of stubborn in our goal to just figure it out, which is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, and I have many years ago come around to being okay with that. Yeah. I can go ahead and 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 I've stated before, it's not my goal to kill an elk. It's my goal to understand how to kill an elk every year. And that's my goal.
What was I going to say there? I'm really not a fan of someone and somebody who's done this to you, and I'm not going to name his name, but hopefully you'll pick up on this. But his dad used to work for the Forest Service.
Okay.
And when we'd come back, we'd go hunting, and we'd never have our success. Oh, my dad could tell you where these elk are.
Yes.
And it's like, that's not the point, right? So but it was always such a serious, in your face, like, well, I'm like, look, I don't need you to tell me where they're at.
You have your journey to go on, man, and I have
exactly,
my
man. Exactly. So, with all due respect, man.
Yeah, and I don't want to go to the South Hills. I know the biggest elk in Idaho, or south of Twin Falls, Idaho.
Yeah.
Look, I got my Twin Falls shirt on. The biggest elk in Idaho, over 400. There have been multiple bulls. Excuse me. I know somebody who has killed a 428, I think 428 and 3/4 bull. That's total inches. It's huge.
Whatever that means. So I'm going to call myself out. What's the point of this inches thing? Why is that a big deal? Isn't it like, sorry,
we talked about it last week.
The school of Randy Newberg is like, shoot whatever gets in front of my arrow. And I'm like, so I guess I don't fully comprehend or appreciate yet.
Yeah.
The whole inches thing. Like, that's the first thing that comes. Oh, it's got to be this many. Like, so I guess I don't know why, but so my apologies if I come across to anybody in the field and I'm a little indifferent towards that. It's because, well, I guess I'm not in that mindset of competition for what I'm shooting at. But anyway,
and there's this spectrum of guided hunts and hunting and let me just say that it's all backstory. It's all backstory. I see an elk on the wall and you want to brag about it. I am not impressed.
Sure.
I am instantly not impressed. I want to know the backstory.
Right.
Did you pack that out? Did you shoot that with a rifle or a bow?
Yeah.
Did you have friends? Did you have horses? How far from the road?
Yeah.
The backstory is everything. That impresses me, not the size of your rack.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Now,
I want to know the backstory.
For educational purposes, tell me what all these inches things mean. How do you even measure it?
So
I don't get it.
So
and here's part of my backstory as to why I'm confused on this. Is like, growing up, it's like, well, there's a 4-point buck, or is it an 8-point buck, or is it right? You know what I mean? Or is it a 5x4, or is it a 3x? So I guess there's all these different ways to calculate and count. And I understand that there are rules and regulations that say here's what matters, but why does it matter? I guess I don't know. I'm not that competitive. I guess
size matters. Size matters to guys.
I don't have the biggest freezer, so I guess I don't really.
It always has. It always will. Right? People talk about Shaquille O'Neal.
Big guy.
Size matters. Right?
Yeah.
You want to talk about Michael Jordan, you talk about his numbers. Those are sizes. Those are numbers. So yeah, we go by sizes, and it's a handy litmus.
Okay.
So you have a big bull.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Sorry, I know.
What's the story?
I didn't mean to stomp on your direction either. I just
no.
It's just one of those things that I'm like, it's a 0 to 60 thing.
It all fits in, but it all fits in because it's all about backstory.
Yeah.
Right. It could be a big old 8x8, and I have a picture on my phone of a guy from the gym who shot a big 8x7 bull, and he shot him with a rifle, and he sat on the side of a hill. He knew that bull was in there. He sat on the side of a hill all day long and waited for him to come out. It was a good hunt. Not my thing,
right?
But he was very happy about it. And it's that kind of backstory. You say, okay, I respect that. Was that public land? Was that over-the-counter tag? So there's a lot of contingent circumstances in this backstory of whatever it is you shoot. And for me, I've shot one elk. One. And it was, I doubt it was a year old.
Ouch.
It might have been a year. It might have been a year old. I've shot a deer.
Yeah.
And I shot an antelope.
Yeah. And it was tasty. I remember the antelope the most.
I shot an antelope with a rifle, and I was so disenchanted with the experience that I don't hunt with a rifle anymore. That was it. That was a big day. There was lots of hunters. There was bullets flying everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, I killed something. Big deal. It was just not a great experience. So I stuck with the bow, and I want adventure. I want the backstory.
Yeah.
I want a good backstory. The one elk I did kill, I was alone. I was 4 miles in. I was clueless. And I had backpacked in. I didn't know what I was doing. And I shot an elk, and I packed it out myself. And it was 11 miles in one day to get by myself to get that elk down to the truck.
If I remember correctly, you said something about twisting your ankle on one of the loads out.
Yeah, on my way out, actually, I had a foot slip out from underneath me, and my knee hit the ground.
Ugh.
Like bad, like really bad. And I was really heavily loaded with elk.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I was going to stand back up from that. The moment it hit, I'm like, oh, geez.
That didn't seem right.
And I got back up. Everything was fine. And when you pack like that, you're happy. Yeah, it's heavy. Look at me. I got an elk. There's legs sticking up out of the pack. I don't care.
It was success.
So
in terms of the harvest sense,
yeah, it was really fun. And actually, that was the year I had been asking you, because I want to talk about one of our first elk hunts that we took here in Idaho.
Okay.
When we couldn't start the fire to heat the beans or whatever it was, the chili.
Where I'm trying to go back in time here.
I thought we went all the way over past Stanley for that, if I remember. And I don't.
That was what, mid 2000s?
Oh,
2006, 2007.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And
it had been years since I hunted. When I started a family, I stopped hunting. I go, yeah, it's for kids. I'd like to hunt someday, but I got a family to take care of.
Yeah.
And I deliberately put hunting and fishing on the back burner because I have responsibilities. And now I have a responsibility to be sane.
Yeah.
And to clear my head. And I owe it to myself to go elk hunting.
Yes.
So I've made a big deal out of it. But back then I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. This is how we hunted in Montana. I knew every road. Let's go. I know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing. When we went here, we parked somewhere
and we started walking around like we knew what we were doing, but we didn't. We're wearing jeans, and not that jeans are bad, but there was a lot of, we just didn't have any knowledge on this aspect of what it really meant to get off of the road hunting mentality, which is what we really were brought up with in Montana. And
there was so much open space in Montana in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, it's just, we just road hunted. And I was with my buddy Slim.
Right.
I'm like, buddy, come on, let's go hike. Let's just do. I really
Slim,
want to.
Not a hiker.
I want to back a deep woods experience. I want an adventure.
Yeah.
Game, whatever. I crave the adventure, and that adventure is the backstory. So I'm excited. I get excited about elk hunting, and we had a trip where we had a tough time starting a fire. Do you remember that?
There was a few times where yes, I remember now. Up on the hillside, we
just gave up and ate cold chili.
There was that big wash that was nearby up there, and we didn't see anything up there.
Nothing. Didn't hear anything. Didn't see anything.
Sorry, that came back to me. I think that was the first time we ever traversed the. What was that road? The Trail Creek Summit Road.
Oh yeah.
That we come down.
Is that where we were? Trail Creek? We might have been up Wild Horse, or
there was a few. We were up all over the place that year.
So there was that experience, and then I feel like what happened when I got my first elk my only elk was you had decided not to come with me.
Yeah, I was actually camping. There was a family. Well, my wife and my only kid at the time, who's 15, and there's 2 others now tagging along with him. But we were up at Mesa Falls here in Idaho. A beautiful place, beautiful time. But I actually was very distracted knowing that you were out elk hunting. And I couldn't stop thinking about it.
And I had been on you. I go, listen, David, backpacking is the way to go.
Right.
Backpacking is the way to go. And I'd been preaching it for years.
Yep.
And David's like, I can't go. And you went and hiked Bora with me. And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I knew that you couldn't go elk hunting with me. And I'm okay. When I want to have an adventure, man, I will take anybody with me, because if you got a pair swinging big enough to come with me, I mean, that's honest. That's honest truth.
Sure.
I'm crazy. You've been on some crazy adventures with me.
That is true.
We have been down to Arizona chasing gold.
Fact.
We've been over in Oregon chasing gold in the
Fact.
springtime. We have tried to dig how many hundreds of buckets of dirt in Montana digging gold.
Fact.
I crave that adventure.
Fact.
And if you want to come with me, you're gonna earn it. That's a fact.
Fact. So
and so I go, you know what? I'm okay. I feel compelled to backpack in.
It's a good move, and that promotion and finally taking the step in that direction, and then I followed through with the following year.
Yeah, and had one of the most incredible experiences
and
we've ever had.
It's really what we needed, and for me, it's what I needed to help me appreciate a lot of the elements of elk hunting I was missing.
Yeah,
because you have to break free
like
from that
elk.
Yeah, elk.
How many times did we see elk in the wild? Hardly ever.
Hardly.
We saw some driving. They were jumping across the road in the dark.
Yeah.
We're like, why don't we stop here and hunt elk? It's private.
Yeah.
Right?
Something like that.
But we know there's elk up here. We just really didn't see them a lot during elk season. And it took a lot of practice, a lot of pains.
The learning curve can be steep as the hills of Idaho, which I hear in some of those videos. People who come to Idaho, they're like, damn, these hills are steep.
Yeah.
Pardon my language there.
They are.
But even compared to Montana, I remember back in 94, I think was the last time I got to hunt in Montana. Rifle hunting, I was with you. You had an elk tag. I had the whitetail tag. And I remember we climbed straight up a hillside. It was so steep. And then all of a sudden we heard boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And we found a game trail on the hillside, and we started following it, and we saw where those tracks that were running from that. And then we ran into somebody you knew somehow at the bottom, some guy with a rifle. Anyway, that was the steepest hill I can remember to that point in my life. And when I moved to Idaho and started hunting here, I realized, wow, we had it good.
That was a little hill. That was a little hill. And we climbed that hill many times.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good hill. It's a good hike. But it's not here.
No.
It's and the mountains of Idaho are pretty steep. If, by the way, when you're watching Elk 101 and you see where Randy Newberg is hunting,
yeah,
those are the breaks.
I was wondering. I was looking at that. I go, that's got to be the breaks, because all the descriptions I've heard of the Missouri breaks.
He said Central Montana. I go, I wonder if he's in the breaks. Then they show it.
Spoiler alert.
And they even go, there's a river down there. It's the Missouri. It's the Missouri River. The headwaters of the Missouri are not 90 miles from where we grew up in Montana. Yeah. And they wind through Montana for, I don't know how, thousands of miles before anybody goes, oh, you mean the Missouri River, right? There were floods in 1993, and people go, the Missouri River has headwaters in Montana? Really?
Yeah.
The Missouri River? Yeah, it's not in Missouri.
Yeah.
It starts, the largest portion of the Missouri River is in Montana. Yep.
So been fishing on many of the tributaries.
So when that river carved through the mountains and sort of washed a lot of this stuff, it's called the Missouri Breaks, and there's just these little gully after gully after gully after gully after gully, and so much terrain and big steep hills. And when you see it, you know it. But when you watch Newberg, I believe they won't say it, but I believe they're hunting the Missouri Breaks.
Sorry, Randy, not to out you. We love you, man.
He got they were on a group of elk.
Yeah.
And somebody else shot one.
I guess I have not caught that episode.
If you haven't caught that episode, that's only the first spoiler alert.
That's all right. I deserve it.
Somebody else got one. What does Randy Newberg say? What's public land? Good for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you so much for being such a cool voice. To say this public land, good for you. Ah, man, that was so nice to hear. So I guess we'll cut into more of this backstory. I give you a little bit of our backstory, but the backstory to any elk is really important. And I saw something on Elk 101 that really, really bothered me this week.
Okay.
And these guys shot a bull at, I think, 24 yards.
Okay.
Beautiful shot. And as soon as they shoot, they start cow talking, and it stops, and you see blood pouring out of his nose.
Mm-hmm.
And he just falls over right there in front of him. It was beautiful. And I was on my lunch break, and I had to go, and I didn't get to watch the rest.
Oh, no.
And so, until later. And I'm like, oh, what a cool hunt. What a cool hunt. I go, I want to get back. And, they kind of, get the antlers and kind of center them up and get some pictures. And they butcher it and they hang it on a log. Mm-hmm. And the guy says, I satellite texted a buddy of mine with some horses and he's going to come in and get it for me, hopefully in a couple days.
Okay.
Party foul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a bitch move.
Ouch.
Straight up bitch move. Really bothers me. It really bothers me. You have the time. That you may be a good hunter. You're not a sportsman. You're not an outdoorsman. You go all the way in to kill an elk and you don't bother to carry it out yourself. That bothered me.
Quick
that
question.
Bothered me so much, yeah.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
If you had a buddy with horses, would you text him?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Just making sure.
Not unless I'm in on the process. This is my elk. It's my backstory.
Right.
Yes. If you got horses, horses are a lot of work.
Yeah.
Horses doesn't make it easy. Horses make it easier.
Right.
But
right.
horses don't make it easy. Horses are a lot of work.
I saw
to have your buddy come and pick it up for you.
I saw a guy hauling out
no respect.
I saw a guy hauling out a small 6x6. One of my first years where we tend to go. And he just looked exhausted. He was getting close to the end of the trail. I felt bad because I don't walk as fast as the horses. They came up behind me and I got off the trail and we just kind of talked. But he just looked uber annoyed that he had to stop and talk to this other guy hiking on the trail. And I tried to keep it short and just said, "Hey, nice work, man." And
sure, but that's
it's a lot of work. Is all I'm saying.
It's a personal thing, and it's a very personal thing. If that's your thing, fine. But I'm telling you how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. But the very next episode, as far as the Elk 101 or the what's it called? Destination Elk. As far as the Destination Elk series goes, it was redeemed twofold in the next episode.
Okay.
Oh. So this guy, he shoots a bull. It's like 40 yards or something. It's just before dark. He can't find his arrow. And you have to wait till the next episode. The next, which is the last episode that's available. There's a new episode tomorrow. But so they get the llamas and they're like, all right, we're gonna go find this bull. We're gonna go pack him in. Hopefully we find him. They find the arrow and there's no lung blood.
Okay.
The elk definitely looked like he got hit, and he bolted off. He ran off in there, and they never found him. The guy notched his tag anyway.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh,
yeah.
You have seen that episode?
No, I've seen people do that.
Yeah, respect.
Yeah,
that's respect. That's an outdoorsman. That's a sportsman.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could. That is really hard.
I actually thought about this because I had a fight, that aggressive 5x5 that came 2 miles out of his way. When the arrow got up to him, he ran off like I had hit him, and we couldn't find that arrow.
Yeah,
we didn't see any blood.
And there was fresh snow. There was a lot of snow.
A lot of fresh snow. So you'd think that we would have seen something, but it was the last day we were up there, so I didn't get anything. So there was no need to notch my tag. Right. But if I so had we, how do I say this? Basically, here's how I might approach this scenario. You can call me all you want in the comments, of course. So let's say that situation happens at the beginning of the year. Yeah. Right. Would I notch or not? Well, no, I don't have any evidence to say that I would notch. Right. So I would just keep the tag and I'd keep hunting like I didn't shoot him. Right. I couldn't find my arrow. Didn't see any blood. Right. But if I were to come across a carcass or find out later, absolutely. Right. I wouldn't have any. No doubt. Absolutely. No doubt. But I was thinking about that this year. What if we still came across a carcass? Would it be appropriate to notch a current tag, even though I didn't fill the previous tag? So I don't think I would do that moving forward. But I often wonder, because it still bugs me that I could never find that arrow. Of course, there's another arrow up there that I still can't find, but we've looked and looked for with that spike the other time. But anyway, but I can appreciate it because I've learned that from watching other guys. Like, I'm going to notch my tag if I have clear evidence that I've gotten them, but I can't find them, then it's done. Yeah. And I think that's mad respect. Mad respect for a move like that. I was really impressed by that.
I didn't expect that. I didn't expect the guy to text a buddy to bring in horses either.
Right.
So that threw me, obviously. But to have the other guy notch his tag, knowing, yeah, well, I had my chance, I had my opportunity, and it's time for somebody else to take an opportunity, and he notched his tag and he moved on. It was really impressive, really impressive. So
glad to hear that. That's
and please watch those episodes.
Oh,
maybe you'll feel differently than I do.
Well, there clearly two opinions exist between us. We know that.
Or there's 5.
Yes, but that's healthy. It's healthy to have different perspectives. So
sure.
I don't know. Look, I don't know the person's disposition and situation. And I don't know the whole context of why he would have called his friends in. But if I had the resource and that person offered that service to me, would I say no to it? I don't know. If it's a big enough bull, if I'm in back far enough,
Interesting.
Would I actually carry pieces of it out? Absolutely, because I think, especially for my first harvest, I say I'm not competitive, but I mean, with all due respect,
it's your story. It's your adventure.
We tend to get closest to bulls because bulls are I've had some opportunities with cows, big cows, but bulls have a tendency to just come in. So I anticipate my first one probably being a bull. Possibly that's what I've had every opportunity with up where we're currently at. Well, with the couple of exceptions, but hauling that head out, that's the first thing I want to do is I'm going to haul this out on my back because that's,
they even left the rack up there. The head and rack up there hanging. I mean, they have other guys they got to take care of. But I mean, there's 4 guys there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one trip. I'm ready to make 4 trips. I'll make 10 trips.
Sure.
To pack out my out. I can put one foot in front of the other. I hiked up there to shoot the thing. I can hike that thing out, even if it takes me 10 trips.
Yeah.
People tell me, if you get something down, give me a call. Yeah, I will. I won't.
Probably not. No.
I won't. It's mine. If I can walk that far, I can walk that far again.
But if you happen to be out there and you're offering that service, I'm not going to say no to you. I'm not going to call you up there. But if you happen to be out there and you're like, oh, I can help you, I'm like,
and there's guys on. And then
sure.
they got one. They pulled one in via motorcycle, and they have carts and they got side by sides, and there's e-bikes now that are getting the same sort of classification as a mountain bike.
Yeah.
As non-motorized.
Oh, that's not right.
I agree. Oh, so that's another thing we got to talk about.
Okay.
Drones.
Yes.
And trail cams. Because trail cams are a really big issue right now.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that coming up too.
Okay.
So where were we? This is why I should have wrote it down.
Yeah.
So I just say it. Anyway, so that's the recap of the Elk 101. We can just kind of tie that up with a bow. To be continued, because they have, if I think right, 12 or 13 tags left out of 14.
Oh wow.
They got 5 or 6 episodes in, and they got 10, 12 tags left. And please, I hope that they don't dump a bunch of videos all in one day. Like one a week is good.
Yeah.
One a week is good. I love hanging on my edge.
Don't Netflix us.
I love thinking about that episode for an entire week, and I just can't wait to see the next episode. So you give me 2 episodes, I'm like, good, I'll watch the next one now. But I'd like to wait a week. I really do. I like the anticipation of it.
That's good.
So I'm excited about tomorrow. Because a new destination elk comes out.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about. I want to talk about the trail cam issue and drones.
Okay.
Or aircraft, because early in our Idaho elk endeavors, I suggested let's charter a plane.
Yeah.
And you were really against that.
Yeah.
Really.
I've never been a big fan of it.
Really. It's not like we're gonna go in a plane and the next day we're gonna drive to the elk. That was never my intention, right? I just want to get a census. I want to see the train.
It was a data collection process.
Yes. And I want to see the train. I want to see what elevation they're at. I just kind of want to get an idea. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Correct.
You disagree?
Well, now that I'm a little bit more mature in my frontal lobes, because back in those days, I mean, I'm in my mid-20s when we have those conversations, and I still have a lot of black and white thinking that I work with, but but I can appreciate having the right mentality behind something, you know. And so if it is clearly to just, because like we're coming from nothing, and so it makes sense to have that. But I always felt like it was a cheat, like, and so I
want that adventure to be pure.
Right.
I really do.
But understanding terrain and seeing more of Idaho, it would make sense. I don't have anything against that per se now, but I'm not going to do it anywhere near elk season.
No. And as I got excited about drones, I really got into drones. I fly racing drones. I probably have 6 or 7 drones. I do the racing ones. I have a Mavic. It's an old one, like the very first thing that came out. And they're coming out now. They're better. They have better cameras, and they have quieter props. And still, I believe that it's a terrible big game scout.
Yeah.
Drones are a bad big game scout. Unless and this is cheating. I think this is cheating, but there's no laws against it. We'll start a GoFundMe right now. You give me $12,000 and I will put together a drone with FLIR, which is the far infrared, far left. I don't know. It's the infrared.
Okay.
So I can see through the trees, and I can count how many elk are in whatever draw you want. And there's a different heat signature for bear, for wolves, for deer, and you can get a real census. And according to Idaho law, I could do that the night before you hunt.
Technically, yeah. I thought it was a 24-hour period, though.
I will post the law on our
That's
YouTube.
Fair.
I'll post the verbiage. I have found it before. It's in the reg book. And I've talked to somebody about it.
Okay.
So, and he goes, well,
I remember you told me about.
Yeah, and he at first he goes, yeah, you can't do it in the same in 24 hours. He goes, well, technically same day. You can't do it in the same day. You can't scout in the morning and go hunt in the night,
right?
Or hunt during the day, but you can scout at night and hunt what you've scouted the next day.
Gotcha.
So you can use it in the same calendar day, is what the language says, and I'll put that up on the YouTube. But it's just a terrible idea, because you need the way a drone camera works. It's made, once you get up in the air, the world really opens up. There's a lot to see above the tree line, and so their cameras are almost fisheye.
Yeah,
right. They really take in a broad picture, and so to see an elk, by the time you and I have spotted and deer and elk with my drone.
Yeah.
And
not during a hunting season.
No. Whenever we get close enough to see the elk,
yeah,
they're looking at it like, oh my God, what is that? They're
like
freaking out.
I've never seen that kind of wasp before.
And they are afraid of it.
Yeah.
They are definitely running.
It accounts to what you learned as being harassment of animals, right?
Yes. If it changes the animal's behavior, it's technically harassment. And so I don't even know if I'm harassing them, because I can't even see them until I'm harassing them.
Right. So it's a slippery slope is what it becomes. And
so what you need is a bigger drone.
Yeah.
You need a bigger drone that can carry a bigger camera with a better zoom, so that they can't. And the kind I could use would have one pilot and one cameraman, because doing both is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it'd be really good. This is like a big time search and rescue drone.
Sure.
Right. You want to be able to find somebody, but you could legally get a complete census the night before you hunt and say, oh, the elk are here. There's a bear here. There's wolves here. You could really know a lot of information. So, and I could sell that information.
Okay.
And I'm not okay with that.
Okay.
It's just too close. It's just too close. It's not cheating legally,
but
morally, mentally.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? That's not fair chase. That's not fair chase.
It doesn't feel ethical.
I'm not doing the hunting. I'm not finding the tracks. I'm not finding the animals. Somebody told me where they were. Okay, I'll go get them. So it's not fair.
It doesn't feel fair.
It doesn't feel fair. But And trail cams, because we want to get back to the trail cams. That's it. That's my diatribe on drones. I've said it a dozen times. And if you want me to say it again, I will. But drones are bad big game scouts. But trail cams, I have to hike in there and plant that trail camera. If I want to know what's on that trail camera, I have to go back to it. But now there's trail cams that broadcast those images. So that would be the same as an aircraft.
Really?
It really is. I know what's there right now, and I know what's not there right now. I know to not go to this camera, and I know to go to this camera. So, but here's the problem. They're banning all cameras.
Who is?
Arizona.
You
cannot, and I think Utah and Colorado are looking at it.
Okay.
Like, you can't use trail cameras at all for anything. So if you're going to hunt, you can use trail cameras to take pictures of pretty animals. And I do. I love that.
Absolutely.
I always wonder all the stuff I get from trail cams. I'm like, how has this helped me? Because I haven't harvested anything I've seen on a trail cam.
Except there's one spot that we continue to put a camera up at that we continue to fail to set up at.
Yeah. So it is very helpful that way in understanding the pattern.
Right.
But not, and sometimes the time of day, but really there's so many variables in elk country. So there's a lot to the debate of trail cameras. And this is an ongoing story, much like the reintroduction of wolves in Colorado.
Yeah.
Much like the grizzly bears, trail cams and predator hunting, all these things are a continuing story that will always surround elk season. They just always be around it.
And I wish I could remember. I can't remember the details of the article I read, and I didn't watch the podcast, but it had to deal with Randy Newberg in Montana's changing their elk management processes.
Yeah.
And apparently it's controversial, and it leads to more private or wealthy kinds of situations and fewer over-the-counter kind of. That's loosely speaking. So if you're in Montana, you know more than I do, but I was a little concerned for the Montana elk management direction based on that article. So keep an eye out for that.
That's a moving part of elk season as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. So dig into that.
Yeah.
Find out what's going on in Montana. There are some, because I have an issue with guides, right? Because if you use a guide, the guide is hunting, not you.
Right.
But how do you learn?
Right.
So I had a great conversation just this morning with @dk.guidelife on TikTok. He has impressive footage. I don't think I've ever seen his face.
Really?
It's always, he's always, and I have to wonder, here, I'm not throwing you under the bus, DK, but is all that footage yours? All of it? I would like to know.
We just don't know.
I would like to know. It's really good footage.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he takes some, he goes, hey, look at this. This would make a cool video, or this is his footage. So that what's the integrity of your own footage? But I talked to him. I don't know if you can pull that up, and you can read the conversation that I had with him, because I wanted to the picture I have in my head is somebody told me a story of like an African safari. Right. And they go on the safari. I go, oh, that sounds so cool. How fun was that hunt? He goes, man, it's a process. They don't care. You fly to Africa. The plane lands. They usher you. They have guys. They have men there in Jeeps. Oh, come on, sir. Come on. Get on the Jeep. They take you in the Jeep. They drive you out. They point out an animal. Here, shoot this. You shoot it. They run out there. They skin it. They gut it. They carry it back to camp. And you're there under a tent drinking beer while they're cooking. That ain't hunting. Right? And so that's what I think of when I think of guide.
So,
however, if I went out with my grandpa or my father-in-law, if they hunted, then is that a guide? Right? Does he help me gut it? So does he help me find the tracks? So we talked last week about an apprentice program.
Yeah.
Some people need to learn the ins and outs. And so I was dying to ask him this question. Go ahead and read it.
So at the end of I won't read the whole blurb because you sort of introduce yourself and what you're doing. And so generally you're interested while you're against guides, as you've already made clear.
Yep.
But as you discussed, it's a great way to learn. So roughly what percentage of clients are trying to learn enough to do it on their own? And do you have any guide to learn packages? Is the question that we started with. So his response is just that he would say it's almost all are wanting to learn at some level. They have either fallen into the low success rate category, don't have the time or resources to scout, have never hunted elk, don't have a hunting partner, live back east. That's the one that keeps popping into my mind the most, is that it tends to be like these big city situation, or people from the larger cities, metropolitan, they just don't have the resources and the availability of elk hunting out east. Anyway, not to get too distracted here. Have never bow hunted, can't bugle to save their life. I wonder if that's my problem sometimes. Or they want to bring quality home. I always tell clients up front that each trip is a learning experience, not only for you, but for me, him, that is. Don't offer any type of package. It's just a given.
No direct package just for learning. It's just a given. You're going to learn something. So that's really encouraging. Right? And then I asked him, okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I asked him what the prices were.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, man, it's anywhere from $3,000 to $20,000.
Depending on the situation, yeah.
If it starts at $3,000, that's really outside a lot of guys' budgets.
Yeah.
Really outside. And they just can't do that. If I had $3,000, would I pay that money to go hunting? I might. If I thought I could learn that much, I spent more on college.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah.
And but would I be willing to do that? And I guess I would have to understand better the whole guide situation. Now there's another aspect to the guide situation.
Okay.
And that is it's a business.
Right.
And it's a big business.
Yes.
And they are organized. Okay, and they get a certain percentage of tags. A certain percentage of tags must go to guides.
Interesting.
For people outside the state.
Wow. So
the guides are guaranteed tags.
So I wonder how the change in out-of-state tags has changed their business model.
Well, and so balance the understanding of these guys have a vested interest in getting enough tags to get lots of clients, which takes tags away from resident hunters, people who live in Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, every state. They can't get tags, but guys from out of state can because they went through a guide.
Interesting.
That is unfair to me.
Okay.
If that's really what's happening. And I don't understand all the rules.
Sure.
But if that's what's happening, if that's what's happening, it's unfair to the residents, in my opinion. The other part is they're making it in some places, I think it was in Utah, in making it illegal to sell a scouting report.
Interesting.
I go out, you can guide, but I can't give information to somebody for a scouting report?
Huh.
That is the Guide Services Consortium working against an individual who wants to make a living. And if I could make a living just compiling scouting reports, that's what I would do. I would have trail cameras all over this state. I would spend, my legs would be like jackhammers. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go hiking, baby.
Yeah.
And so I really, and there's some guys here in Idaho that do it. I think they're out in the Treasure Valley and they're like, hey, if you want to do this, let me know and we'll set you up and we'll, and I really considered doing it. But now it seems like that is a trend that is going to end, that selling scouting reports. And I think selling a scouting report is really, really good medium between hiring a guide and coming out blind.
Yeah, sure.
You have a scouting report. Listen, I'll tell you the times of day these elk are here, the number of elk, and the size that they are.
Because you would still need the skill to be able to pursue them.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Yeah, interesting.
Get that all off my chest to feel better. Drinking a beer.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm very passionate about elk season in the outdoors, and I really don't know all the rules. And I know I'm just blowing smoke here. And
here's where my mindset is when you're going through all of these vents, if you will. Yeah. I just hear a strong passion, and I would argue that on all sides of these issues that you bring up, what I'm hearing from you is just a passion, and same thing for me, is a passion to just understand better. So when claims are made, and I would argue, and I don't know that we need the disclaimer, hopefully you're wise enough to listen to the podcast and realize this is a person's perspective, but I think we're all just trying to understand better so that we can have equality or fairness in regard to what we love to do passionately.
Right. And it's all part of that backstory.
Yeah.
It's all part of the backstory to your elk. If I paid $1,000 for a scouting report and it gave me the information that I needed, it lessens by a little bit my backstory. Just like having somebody else pack it out.
Right.
Just like having a guide take you by the hand. Come here, buddy. Here you go. Come on, shoot an elk. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how I sort of feel. But then the DK Guide Life goes on to explain that the best hunts he's ever been on are the guys, it's their last hunt. It's the last chance they're ever going to have in life to get out there. We have just enough mobility to get out there one more time.
Wow. Yeah.
And he says that is the most rewarding. So mad respect to that. Really respect. Because, you know what? If I'm 88, he said his oldest client was 88.
Wow.
Man, if I make it to 88, I got a few extra bucks. Yeah, throw me in a Jeep. Let's go kill something. I may change my tune then.
Yes.
But now that I'm fit and I'm able, I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to fail by myself. Thank you very much. So that was really nice to have somebody in the guide world. Maybe he's like the first person to ever download the podcast every week.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. He's paying attention.
Thank you, sir.
He's engaged. Engaged. So maybe when he hears all this, he can set me straight on a few things. Please do. Please.
You ready for a spoiler alert?
Yeah.
If you haven't watched new Ghostbusters,
I have not. Afterlife?
We just watched it last night. It's fabulous. But there's a good joke in it. There's a character named Podcast who does a podcast. He's a great guy, great kid. In fact, what we learned.
Podcast?
Either way, he does his own podcast. He's all of like 11 or whatever, and he's really great. But he runs into another character in the movie that is he goes, "Oh, you're so and so, and you're the guy who does the podcast." And he looks at the guy and he goes, "You're my one subscriber." So that's what I just felt just now. That joke from Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I know. I gotta be kind. I gotta be kind to DK. Keep downloading those podcasts, buddy.
You get to marvel at our insanity of where we're coming from. You get to hear our backstory more than you want. We're both talkers. Believe it or not, I do talk.
You're talking a lot today. I like it.
Anyway, but no, it'll be great, and maybe eventually run into people and maybe have more of a conversation with DK. So.
Yeah, or any other guide.
Yeah,
I really want to understand, and I don't understand the laws because they don't apply to me. I'm over the counter public land. I don't want to fill out. I don't want to fill out a special tag permit. I want the same chances, the same crappy chances as everybody else.
Sure.
And I want to rise above those. That's what I'm after. So, there was what else? We're getting really close, and there's a bunch of stories.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stories. I don't know. I don't know where it's going. You'll pull something up.
Yeah, I'll just start with the first thing that pulls up in the media folder here. Trophy hunting bobcats, Canada Link mountain lion would be banned.
Yeah,
the guy's head kind of blocked.
So there was this crazy person in Colorado. Actually, there's two files in there on the same story. One is proposed legislation. One is the only person to propose the legislation is the only person to vote for it.
Okay.
And it was basically save the kitty cats. It was basically Carol Baskin. If you've watched the Tiger King,
yeah.
Basically Carol Baskin proposing legislation in Colorado or something like that.
The equivalent, rather.
Yeah, the equivalent of Carol Baskin.
She was in Colorado.
Cat people are weird. They think all cats are the same, and great. So we need to control the predators.
Have you ever seen a cactus elk on your trail camera?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a cactus elk?
No, I have not.
Do you see the picture?
Yes, I do.
It'll be up.
To make sense.
It'll be up on YouTube. I don't know if it's a genetic condition.
Yeah, that looks genetic. Sorry, no offense, elk.
But I think I have seen them before. I never called them a cactus elk. I just called them non-typical.
Yeah, that's definitely non-typical.
Yeah,
but
it's just like thick, gnarly stumps coming out of his head. How would you describe that?
an abnormal growth.
None taken.
Moving on.
Speaking of which, real quick, I have an update. I'm down 6 pounds this week.
Yeah, I'm not down anything since last
245. Ooh. Loving it. Feeling good.
I started weighing myself in the evenings.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
What's really interesting about that is I anticipated the weight to be different. And so it doesn't appear that I've lost anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm sort of stagnated in this lower range. Now, yesterday I learned some things about my snacking habits that I'm still working on. So a little grumpy last night because I couldn't put the snacks down.
Yeah, okay.
But that's I kind of needed to get my head straight about that. I said that kind of redundantly, but yeah, I anticipate more progress. It's just
all right
because of the way I changed what time of day I'm weighing myself. It is not an excuse. It's just a clear difference in.
Okay.
And I don't know what that means.
All right, it's a process. Anyways, I'm excited. I'm down 6 pounds. I'm down under that 250 mark, down to 245.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see, 20 pounds to go, which means I have a picture on my phone of me on the scale at 283.
Wow.
So that was November.
Nice.
So I'm down almost 40 pounds since November. So I'm feeling good.
That's where I was at the beginning of January, was around that.
Yeah.
I take my 3-day average, which gives me more of a set point. That's where I really started, was that 283 mark.
Yeah.
And I'm about 272 at the moment. So
all right.
I'm moving. It's just we both have our different tactics, and
I've been busy at the gym this week too, and I was super busy at the Ag Expo. Yeah. We had the Southern Idaho Ag Expo at the CSI Expo Center, and our media company. I work at a radio station. Our media company put it on, and we laid out the chalk lines. And I was in there all day in the cold, walking around, and we helped with the setup. And I was there all day, walking around in the cold. You over here, yeah, anything you need. What can I help you with? So I was extra busy all week. Plus, every day I was in the gym, I was in there for 2 hours instead of 1.
Yeah. So I'm not the gym fan per se, but
that's okay.
But I will say the correlation I've noticed when I lose weight is when I'm keeping busy and I'm just not thinking about food.
Right. It's all about eating less. You want to be healthy. You want to be fit for elk season. Work out. You want to lose weight. Put the fork down.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
So,
okay.
Weasel are high-octane assassination machines.
Yeah. So, funny story about the weasel, the long-tailed weasel.
Long-tailed.
The long-tailed weasel. We were out elk hunting.
Yes.
It was in the Copper Basin. Can I say that? That's broad enough.
We didn't see anything.
I can edit it out.
I don't.
Okay.
Well,
we were in the Copper Basin. And we were sitting there quietly, not doing anything, waiting for elk to run into us.
Yeah.
And a long-tailed weasel ran into us. And they're killing machines.
Oh yeah.
And so it dropped a rodent
on my neck. We were so we were like, it was hot afternoon. It was like 3:00. We're dressed to the hilt and not knowing what we're doing, and we kind of lay back and I think we were kind of dozing off because we were like we were kind of out of ideas and it's just way too hot. And I remember I was just on the cusp of sleep and all of a sudden I heard this trample, and all of a sudden I turned my head right in time to see this furry creature bounce off my neck.
Yeah,
and then it starts running circles around us like. We couldn't figure it out.
It wouldn't go away.
And so I had a camera.
It was staying at a distance. We're like, let's take pictures.
And so I kept taking pictures, and I got a really good picture of this guy.
Yeah.
But then eventually I look down, I see this dead rodent back where my head was. And so I can only imagine I scared this little creature. If you think...
But what did you think at first?
I thought it was... What do you mean?
You said, of all the places to lay down, why did I lay down and crush a rodent?
Oh, I did say that.
You had killed it.
Yeah.
But no, you had frightened it out of its mouth.
Yeah. So think of this little tiny rodent jumping up on a large creature, doesn't realize it's a creature, and then it gets scared and it drops its food. Like, that's a funny image in my head, like you'd see in a movie. But it was running around us trying to wait till it had an opportunity to get its meal back. And so we realized that, and then I tossed the rat out, or the little mouse out, and it eventually found it, and he was gone.
Yep. That was a crazy elk season experience.
Yeah.
Good story.
Yes. And then a couple of pictures of some sheds here.
Yeah.
That's a raw shed right there. So
yeah. So there's still red on the bottom, but that's a muley, I think. Look at right. It's really thick and really brown.
Yeah, well, they call them browns when they find them.
Yeah.
That fresh. You know, the
Does
guys that go
it
out.
look like an elk to you?
It kind of looks like an elk to me.
Okay.
Like a non-typical elk.
Like a stunted elk?
Yeah.
Or a giant muley? Okay.
Yeah.
You could be the judge. Go to YouTube. It's on our YouTube.
It could be. I don't know. I'm confused. It's a different type of antler, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Let's see here. Pull up here. Another concern raised for whether flying helicopters overwintering deer and elk stresses the animals out. Elaborate on that, would you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I read some of the article and people were like, well, isn't flying over the elk and counting them causing them stress and death? Yeah, and the Fish and Game response was, once? No. You fly over them once. You fly over them every day. You make them run every day. You put pressure on them every day. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to cause damage.
Yeah.
You fly over them once to count them? No. Shut up. That's basically the essence of the article.
It's really about the balance of things.
Yeah.
That I think intuitively should just make sense. Like
you would think, but people on the internet.
Yeah. Two magnet fishing. The two were magnet fishing in a canal south of Miami. Pulled a pair of 50 caliber barrel sniper rifles.
So magnet fishing is fun. You have a magnet, right?
I do.
A magnet fishing?
No.
Oh, is it lost?
I never bought one.
What are you talking about? Your son found a knife in Rock Creek Park.
That was our sister's.
Oh, that was her. That was her magnet. I
Yeah.
thought you had one too.
No, that was our sister.
Wow. So anyway.
Sorry.
Anyway, magnet fishing is fun. And as soon as you see it, you come across magnet fishing on TikTok or on on YouTube, anything, you're like, oh, that sounds fun. That's adventurous. I don't know what's down at the bottom of this lake, but let's pull up something rusty. So anyway, that was all. Just magnet fishing. That's a fun adventure.
This one's got
Get outside.
This one's got my curiosity piqued, and maybe you don't want to go outside after this one. Wolves completely surround group of elk hunters.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm calling BS on this one.
Tell me how.
It's not activity wolves do. It's not.
I saw that in a movie once, though.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind.
Well, it is. It's portrayed. That kind of behavior is portrayed in movies, particularly white fang.
Particularly the white fang, yeah.
But I agree. It's not a typical behavior.
It's not.
And I don't know of any. How many stories are there of wolves actually attacking man?
There are so few in North America.
Right.
So rare, especially in modern times.
Yeah.
There was one in Minnesota, but it was like a pup that wandered close to public land and like nipped at somebody.
And anytime you're dealing with a parent and their offspring in terms of animals, even an elk will take after you.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, they try to vilify the wolves legitimately. I mean, they're already vilified enough in media as just being the bad guys because they're good killers.
Yeah.
They are good hunters, and they are strong and big and scary, but they do not in North America anyway, mess with humans because they know they've been trained.
Yeah.
Any wolf that comes near you, I think there's a statistic. Every mountain lion that has ever attacked a human has been hunted and killed. Every one of them.
Huh.
You think wolves haven't learned that?
That's a good point.
I think they have. I think they have. So there was a girl up in, I think, northern Idaho. She was working for the Fish and Game. She says a pack of wolves treed her. And I really doubt it. I really, really doubt it. With all the cell phones that everybody has nowadays, if there's a group of hunters with wolves surrounding them, and I haven't seen that video, it probably didn't happen.
So evidence can help. Having the right evidence can help.
Yeah.
Anecdotal stories, or look, it's not that we don't want to trust you, but
I don't.
We just need more. That's what we're saying. We need more. Not about heavy weights or running long miles. Just get the right pack. Take one step at a time.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw that. I know we were talking about. There's one more wolf in there. Let's finish on the wolf thing.
Okay.
Because there's one more wolf thing. We're just right at an hour,
Yeah,
and I know when we started this podcast, we're like, 30 minutes would probably be good. 30 minutes isn't a drop in the bucket, and if we go over an hour, then we're probably stretching it too long. So we're going to try to keep it an hour. But there's this one wolf story that's really interesting.
I don't see it.
Okay. Well, it was a TikTok. And basically they have there's a host of a show. It's like a talk show, but they have intellectuals and comedians and stuff to give answers back on understanding on the world. And so the host asks, who's in charge in a pack of wolves?
Okay.
Is there an answer? So what have we been taught?
Alpha.
Alpha. Right.
Alpha.
What's the reality? Do you know the reality? Who's alpha? Daddy.
Dad, yeah, but it's
they're just families.
I think somewhere I recently came across the idea that it was there's the alpha female or something. I don't know.
Yes, alpha male and alpha female. That's mom and dad.
Yeah.
That's all that is. There's a ton of research on it. A ton. So a pack of wolf doesn't have an alpha. Alpha is just dad.
Okay.
That's it. Alpha female and alpha male. Why is there only one breeding pair in a wolf pack? Why is there only one breeding pair in a family? Because they're married, right?
Sure.
Because that's what they got together to do, to make offspring. So, anyways, there's a lot of research about it. And I don't want to anthropomorphize any more than I need to wolves, because I do want to talk about managing them, but I do believe they belong in the ecosystem. Yeah. But I don't think they're packs. I think they're families. I believe that they're families, a pack of families.
Sure.
So, anyways, that was it. It's just somebody else, and I'd only come across that idea like 10 years ago. Okay. When I was in college. They said, hey, there's this study out that says no, the breeding pair is a mom and dad, and a lone wolf. A lone wolf is not an old member kicked out.
Okay.
A lone wolf is somebody's like, I'm looking for a date. I'm looking to start my own pack. I'm looking to start a family. That's what the lone wolf is.
That'll make me think of people differently when they qualify themselves
as a lone
wolf. It's like, well, I'm.
I know one of my favorite Hank Williams Jr. songs, and I have a lot of favorite Hank Jr. songs, is Lone Wolf. Long in the tooth, I'm a lone wolf, and I love the song. I really love it, but it's not biologically correct. Not that I care, but it's Hank
correct.
Jr.
Fact.
Anyways, thanks again, everybody, for coming into the Elk Season Podcast.
I was just going to say, as we're closing down, I'm really interested in how this year goes, because this podcast brings everything more into my conscious awareness than it usually does. So
same here.
By the time we get to August,
intentionally though, I knew it would.
And how I'm really interested in this learning process that we're always in, but this podcast brings me into a whole new focus and a whole new appreciation for that learning. So my curiosity out loud is just, where is this going to go, and what difference, if any, will it make? And so food for thought as we move forward, as we start to entertain and look into different types of unique experiences to get out into the wild, to do our own scouting, or maybe to go shed hunting. And all of this stuff is going to accumulate more experience, but how will it evolve our already established processes?
Right.
So I really appreciate you inviting me to this podcast to be a part of it.
Forcing you into my adventure like I have all the others.
Well, at this point, why fight it?
Right.
And
thank you. Good.
Yes.
Good attitude. I will say, God, I had a really good point on that. Ooh, I have made some really interesting observations that I would love to share with my brother. That's you. But not on the podcast. Because I think it's good info. I go, oh man, we should do this. We should try this. This is what they do. The way they do it. So I've learned a lot from Destination Elk.
Watch it. I've had some observations too. I was actually going to bring some up. So it sounds like, I wonder if we've connected the same on any of these ideas. Because I had at least one where I'm like, we need to have a conversation about this.
Why aren't we doing that?
Okay.
Yeah, why is it so different? So anyway, we'll learn a lot from Destination Elk. Check out Destination Elk on YouTube. It's a really fantastic series. Yeah. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, DK Guide
Stay
Life.
awesome. Cheers.
Have a good week.